Hey everyone, this is Mike, and earlier today the Bozja Southern Front came out, which is essentially going to be our Eureka 2.0 to progress our relic weapon, and we can also look forward to more of this kind of content going into the rest of this expansion because we know already there's going to be more Bozja zones to progress our relic even further. Now, today I'm basically just going to be talking about my first impressions. Me and my friends just spent about 4.5 hours inside of Bozja to try and level up, figure some things out here or there. Of course, we don't know everything about the zones yet. I'm not quite sure what the max level is going to be. We thought 10, but I don't really feel like your level really matters all that much. So if you don't know how this new Bozja zone works, I'll just give you a very quick rundown so that you can basically head in there and know everything that you need to know to basically get yourself started. And then I'll also talk a little bit about my personal opinions on this piece of content right now, which I gotta say, first impressions have been pretty good. So if you're getting fresh into Bozja, you don't know what you're doing, it's very simple. You have a resistance rank. This will be upgraded through metal. Metal will be acquired by just doing fates, skirmishes, and probably the special 1v1 as well, but I haven't had the opportunity to do that one just yet because I always kept getting unlucky and somebody else managed to sneak in before me. But I'll talk about how that works in just a second. So basically, you do stuff, you gain metal. Once you reach a certain amount of metal, you can also increase your resistance rank, and to do so, you need to go back to base and talk to an NPC. And at specific levels, you're also going to be getting specific quests to also unlock new areas of the map. So until level 5, you're locked in the first area. Then from 5 onwards, you can go to the second one, and then at level 8, you can go into the third area as well. Now, when it comes down to your leveling, as I said, it doesn't really matter too much when actually fighting stuff, because the mobs inside of Bozja don't have a level, they have a rank. And the higher their rank is gonna go, the more tough that enemy is going to be. So even if you go into the level 3 zone, like the one that you need rank 8 and above for to unlock that zone, if you're just fighting rank 1 enemies in there, they're still gonna melt as if they're like very low level enemies, even though you're in the quote-unquote high level zone. So it doesn't really feel like your rank really matters outside of being able to acquire stronger logos actions, or lost actions as they are called over here. And then of course also gaining access into the higher level zones, which at the moment there are 3 so far. When it came down to the fates, or the skirmishes as they are called here, the higher the zone that you're going into, the more experience those fates or skirmishes will also give. Now, the reason why I am really enjoying this piece of content compared to Eureka before is because there's not as much downtime as there was in Eureka. Right now in Bozja, it feels like I don't even have enough time to go do my quests because there's so much other things going on. When it came down to Eureka, you had a specific amount of notorious monsters or boss fates that could spawn, and to spawn these fates you would need to kill a bunch of mobs, and then killing a mob would have a specific amount of chance to spawn said fate. You usually had to kill a fair amount of mobs before the notorious monsters would spawn. Now, it also made it so that whenever you went into a new instance, you needed to keep a tracker to see what fates already had spawned, where they on a cooldown, or those kind of things. You had to keep track of everything, but it also made it so that a lot of people would be lazy, because a lot of people are just lazy pieces of shit, and they would just sit in the base at the Aetheryte, wait for other people to do all the hard work. If a fate would spawn, they would just quickly teleport over, jump on their mount, and then just basically reap the rewards of all the effort of the other players. And that is something that they also addressed in this new Bozja zone. You don't have to kill mobs anymore to spawn these skirmishes. Skirmishes just happen on their own, and they kind of function the same like fates. They'll pop up everywhere that you have access to. Of course, if you don't have access to level 2 and level 3 zones, you won't see the fates over there either. So basically, you just run towards the fates that are spawning and you do your thing. Their fates also spawn at a very high frequency, so more often than not there's gonna be multiple fates up, and you'll pretty much always be running around from one fate to the next, making it so that it feels very busy and that you basically won't really feel like you have the time to go do your questing if you also just want to go and increase your metal through doing these skirmishes. Now, when you finish a skirmish, there is also a chance for it to spawn a critical engagement, and this is where you gain a whole lot more metal as well as some other things as well. And when a critical engagement spawns, everybody on the instance can queue for it. Now, queuing for it can be done by the party leader, so more often than not you're going to be forming a party if you're going through Bozja, and then the party leader needs to queue up your whole party for this event. If your party is chosen to go in, you basically have a minute to queue up, and then after your party is chosen, you have another 2 minutes before the critical engagement will actually spawn. So if you see that there's, for example, another skirmish up, you can very quickly go hit it a little bit, try to kill it in time, and then very quickly for the last 15 seconds or so, jump into the critical engagement to just get that little bit of extra metal or experience, as we've been calling it amongst our friends, before you basically go in there. Now, the critical engagements themselves are a lot of fun. The first few bosses weren't really all that complicated, but there is basically a clusterfuck of mechanic going on some of these bosses. And for example, the red chocobo in the second zone that we had basically wiped our party 3 times before we were actually finally able to figure out all of the mechanics and basically do it. Once you figure out the mechanics, it's not too bad, but looking back on Eureka and looking back on what we were kind of expecting from this content, it's a whole lot harder than I think anyone had anticipated. And for me personally, that's really fun because, of course, I like doing Savage, I like doing Ultimate content, so it is a lot of fun to see that these things aren't just a pushover, they're not just a striking dummy that is there for you to just hit a little bit and then that's it, because that's really what Eureka felt like to me for the most part. These bosses actually have mechanics. If you screw up mechanics, you get vulnerability stacks, and these vul stacks do not go away until the boss is dead or until you die. So it's really punishing for you to get hit by these mechanics that you're not supposed to get hit by. And that is also because you don't want to fail mechanics, because when you participate in these critical engagements and you do the things correctly, you also have a chance to go fight a special 1v1. I don't remember what this special 1v1 is called, but basically so far I've only seen one of them. We've had it spawn a few times, but I've only seen one type of this 1v1, which is against the mount that you can also get from this Bozja instance. If you're wondering where you can get the mount from, it's from the log boxes, so you don't need to win the 1v1 to get the mount. I think that's only for a title or for a achievement. The mount itself comes from the log boxes, so if you're after the mount, you don't want to do the 1v1, basically just open a bunch of log boxes and hope you get lucky. So yeah, basically, if you do well in the critical engagement, you have a chance to go into the 1v1. Only the best players are supposed to be chosen for this, and then a pop-up will show up with like 1v1 engagement fight thing, and then you can just basically accept the challenge, and then out of everyone that was viable to go into the 1v1, because of course not everybody is going to be chosen, then those players will be queued up to go into the 1v1 and one person will be chosen. I think I've had 4 or 5 pop-ups at this point. I haven't had the chance to go in yet, unfortunately enough, but even if I were to go in, I don't think I would have been able to beat it, because it does look like you need a specific amount or just specific lost actions in order to beat it. For example, the one that we saw spawn every time at the moment is that you need bonus magical damage against it, like it would take more damage from magical attacks. So I imagine that you would need, for example, a protect or a shell, I believe it is called, which like increases your magic as well as your physical resist. And then you can also acquire something that would, I forgot the name of it, but there's basically a lost action that would make all of your abilities turn into magic damage. So even if you were to play, for example, a machinist, then you would still be able to deal magic damage and then thus take advantage of the vulnerability of the boss. So I'm not quite sure which actions exactly you would want to be taking to these things. Like, for example, if you go on a DPS, probably like the specific damage type that the boss is weak to, and then maybe a healing action or something like that. Maybe you need to prepare some extra stuff as well, like with the shell and the protect through those lost actions. So I'm quite curious to see what we actually need to finish the 1v1. If I were to get into a 1v1 and finish it, then I'll put out a video for that as well, so that people know what they need to do, what the mechanics are as well, because every single 1v1 that we have witnessed so far has ended in failure. So I'm quite curious to basically get in there myself and try to beat it as well. But that's pretty much a quick rundown of the current Bozja. Of course, we don't know everything yet. It looks like there is a little like final quest as well, where we can go up to the actual citadel or whatever it was called, and go into like a dungeon and that kind of stuff, but we're not quite sure if that's for this patch or if that is coming in the next one. But so far, first impressions, like the first 4.5 hours, as I mentioned, have been pretty fun, and I've definitely been enjoying it. Definitely enjoying it a whole lot more than Eureka, because it is just so much more active, and you're not just waiting around for fates to be spawned by other people, or you're one of those players that is trying to spawn fates, and then you're not just putting in a lot of effort and then looking behind you and seeing like 20-30 people just AFKing with a cheer emote or something like that. You definitely don't have that, because fates just spawn so frequently and you're just going from one fate to the other to basically try and get all of your metal. Then once you've reached enough metal to get to the next rank, you're going back to base, maybe picking up a quest to progress through the story as well. And then once you hit those specific level tiers like level 5, level 8, you can go into the next zone and then explore a little bit over there as well. So for now, I can definitely say that my first impressions have been pretty positive. I'm not quite sure how grindy it is actually going to be to gain your relic weapon, because you do need 20 of a specific resource each. Like there's 3 different resources and you need 20 of each to complete your relic step, or at least for now, that's all I know about that. So I can't give more specifics on that, but maybe towards the end of this week, when I have finished my relic weapon and I have seen everything that there is to see in Bozja, I'll do like a proper guide on the content or something like that. And then again as well, if I get in the 1v1 and I'm able to beat it, then I'll make an updated video on that as well to basically help people through it to get that achievement as well, or whatever else might be attached to said fight. But that's gonna be it for today. Let me know in the comments down below how you've been enjoying Bozja so far, if you have been in there already, of course. For me personally, it's a success for now. We'll see whether or not the enjoyment stays as I grind out maybe 1 or 2 extra relics as well after I'm done with my Gunbreaker 1. But that's gonna be it for me. I wanna thank you for watching. I wanna thank my patrons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.